My name is Oksana, and my surname is Akai, and I am from Russia, from a very northern territory, and a very beautiful city, St. Petersburg. I guess uh, I guess you have heard of this city, and I hope that once upon a time you will be able to come as well. Although it's a very long trip here, I say to everyone, and it was my first experience having such a long trip. It was around 17 hours by plane, just flying. So it's not just, it's far away. But still, when I started investigated the relationships between Russia and Brazil, I found out that we have more in common, more things in common than one might think about, although our distance, geographical distance. So, St. Petersburg is a city in the north of Russia, northwest of Russia, and it was founded in 1703 by Peter the Great. It is a very beautiful city. We have a lot of culture, especially for cultural sightseeing. We have very many cultural sites over there, palaces, museums, theaters. They may be ancient, no, how ancient? Okay, from 1703 up to now. Okay, the administration, of course, tries to preserve the architectural buildings of historical and architectural value. And in the center of the city, of course, they succeed. Um, and my university, St. Petersburg State University, is considered, okay, to different rankings in a different way. It is considered the first or the second in Russia um, for, for the research capabilities, for the effectiveness, for the productivity, and for the knowledge for students, master degree students, and postgraduate students as well. Of course, this is the main building of St. Petersburg University. Winter, as you see now, it's winter in St. Petersburg, and here I should say that I had a cultural, no, I had a natural shock here. It was not a cultural, but natural. Then end of November, it's summer and it's hot, hot. You understand? It's snowing. It's snowing over there, and I have contact with my family, and they say, "Yeah, come on, look and see. It's snowing everywhere, snow up to here." And I'm here enjoying enjoying sun. St. Petersburg University has a very long history. Last year, we celebrated 300 years anniversary of it. It was also founded by Peter the Great, okay, with his influence, and it is considered at the moment the oldest university in the Russian Federation. We have very many faculties over there, like mathematics and physics, and so whatever you can imagine. Even medicine, we have a special department for medicine where very many prominent doctors also they teach, and they give classes, and they have also their own clinics and so on. As for me, I represent the foreign faculty. Yes, this is one of the most prominent corridors of the university. Just imagine all this wall is full with books. It's not a library, it's just a corridor, but it's like, yes, it's like this. As for the here, of course, we have also a very big scientific park, which may be used by the students, by the teachers, professors, and so on. And all of these libraries are equipped with quite rare literature, also, so one can use them anytime. As for scientific development, of course, we also have this scientific park, which has special computers for machine learning, special computers for processing the data, and so on. So now about the foreign languages faculty. Here you have departments, we have faculties, but it's just the difference in name. Yeah, in fact, I can say that this is a department as well. We have some special programs for bachelor students, bachelor degree students, just to teach foreign languages. We have many of them, Portuguese included. Unfortunately, just I'm not a specialist in Portuguese, and here it's a very it's a pity that I cannot speak so in full with everybody, so Italian, Chinese, so any language you can imagine. Yeah, okay, in well-spread languages, we teach them, and we have also some master programs, master degree programs, which are, yes, which are listed here, over there on the slide. So mostly we train interpreters, translators, for working in some specific spheres like business and management, probably oil and gas industry, which is very developed in Russia, in some law organizations and institutions, in tourism, of course, also they have some specifics, and they have strong collaboration with museums and some recreation centers in Russia and abroad. We have also some new programs, how to say new, like creative practices, for example. It's a new direction in studies as well. So we try to create this atmosphere for audiovisual translation, so something, for cartoons and gaming and films and so on. So they have fun over there, these master students. And one of the newest program is the international communication and foreign languages in network technologies and in artificial intelligence. And I am the scientific leader of this, supervisor of this program. So with these ideas, I have come here. So I would like to offer a project, and we have already spoken to Dr. Rodrigo, and we decided that we would try to work in this direction, and I would also like to you all, to join us in this or that respect, in this work. So, in this program, with these computer technologies, network technologies, and artificial intelligence, of course, we have some specific courses to teach the students. They are comparatively new because so at the moment, this direction of scientific investigation is quite new, and the specialists in this field are not so numerous, so they are rare. You can understand computational linguistics is okay, so it didn't appear yesterday, but still the specialists, profound specialists in this sphere, are not very often to meet. That's why we find this program quite innovative, and the research group of my university would also like to join the research and to compare Russian language and Portuguese, Brazilian, so in this program, in this project. So when I was preparing for my trip here and my study and my project, I started to looking for the some interesting facts and the things that bring together Russia and Brazil. And it was my surprise that I found out we had something in common. So our collaboration, the country's collaboration, started in 1828. So in 1822, Brazil was independent, became independent of Portugal, right? And Russia recognized it in 1828. Then some immigrants from the Russian Empire came to Brazil. Okay, this conglomerate was not very numerous, but still they existed, and they brought some Slavonic culture, something interesting also here, some traits of traditions also they brought here. Then it was after the revolution in Russia, 1917, some immigrants from Russia also came here to Brazil, but none of Brazilian people came to Russia at that moment. And then we had a period of Cold War. In Cold War, the contacts between our countries were suspended in 1947 due to Brazilian alignment with the USA, but later on, already in 1960s, so the diplomatic ways were broadened and the collaboration between the countries started. So what during that time, so there were some cultural contacts, some diplomatic contacts, and of course, very many Russian writers like Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Chekhov, and so on were translated into Portuguese, and the books were spread here. So the Russian culture started to be popular also in Brazil. As for Brazilian culture, it took some years more to get to Russia. It was already in 1990s when Russian people learned something interesting from Brazil. So it was like very, very amusing for us. So first soap operas, of course, then music with soap operas as well. Yeah, then football. It was sport, which always brings people together. And of course, these connections became stronger. Nowadays, we have internet in use. That's why all the contacts are extremely quicker, faster, and more comfortable. Nowadays, we have planes, and so you see in 17, just in 17 hours, you are here, and in summer from winter. Okay, so then we will talk a little bit, we will come to the language landscape of Russia and Brazil. So we are linguists here, and if we want to compare, we need to know the roots. So in Russia, what we have in Russia? Russia is officially monolinguistic country. What we can say, monolinguistic country. The state language is Russian, but at the moment there are more than 100 languages. Exact number is 122 languages spoken on the territory of the Russian Federation. We have very many. And they are completely different. So they are not of the same group, for example, like Slavonic, all of them. No. For example, here in Siberia, in Yakutia, the language of Evanks is spoken, it's indigenous language. We have, for example, here also Evanks, here Evanks, and we have in the Caucasus, the people speak like Bashkir language and Chechen language and so many other languages. So in total, 122. These ethnic minority languages are of great importance for the state programs as well and are of great concern. Why? Because, first of all, of course, language is a culture. So you cannot divide them. And culture is very important for people, for ethnicity. So we try to preserve those languages. Regularly, we hold the conference, forums, with some representatives of the government, of the judicial power, just to support in government, to support it by language, special language politics, policies with special requirements and with special bills that would preserve these ethnical minorities' languages. There are some funds also in the state. These funds, they make textbooks for schools in their native languages, or we organize some events for these languages, for these people speaking those languages, just, of course, to make them more vivid and function. So just not to lose these languages. One of the most numerous conglomerations of language, ethnic language, is Tatar. They are more than 3 million people in Russia. So they speak, of course, both Russian language, like official language everywhere, and at home or probably at schools also they have some lessons of their ethnic languages. And one more interesting story about Dagestan. We have a very interesting, so near the Caspian Sea, we have Dagestan region. I came there last year and I was very surprised. Okay, welcome in the region very, very well, and they have 14 languages, 14 indigenous languages within the territory of one Campinas city, okay, let's say like this. And the language of the common communication appears to be Russian. So interesting because they don't understand each other if they are 14, just 14 languages. So also the measures for the preservation of these languages, they take place, and we as scientists, as representatives of the educational institutions or research institutions, we try to contribute to it all the time. So, and as for Brazil, I have found this picture. Sorry if it's not, I found it on the Russian side. Okay, sorry if it's not full informative, but so as for Brazil, Brazil is, from the first side, it also is considered to be like a monolingual country where Portuguese is spoken, but there are there are some things that we should discuss here. Yeah, first of all, probably you will tell me better which indigenous languages are spoken in Brazil. Probably you know of them something, I guess, better than me, probably. Yeah, 230. So these indigenous languages, yeah, known. And what is the most popular of them? Guarani, yeah? Yes. And this is not only the language, this is, yeah, so it's the culture, right? So, of course, because from the times of the linguistic hypothesis of linguistic relativity, we know that language influences to some extent, okay, not completely, but to some extent it influences the way of thinking, yes, the manner of seeing the reality and shaping this reality, right? So Guarani is one of the, I guess, the most numerous, in speaking population, yes. So, so Brazil cannot also be considered to be a monolingual country in this way. And this is already something in common between Russia and Brazil, because both from the first sight look like monolingual country with one state language, but in reality, the situation is quite different. And I have a question to you as Brazilian citizens, Portuguese speakers. Does the government of Brazil, or I don't know, maybe some other socially oriented institutions, provide any programs for language preservation or something like this, or these languages just exist and naturally they exist and nobody does anything about it? Okay, and this is what we have discussed. The situation in Brazil differs greatly from that what is going on in Russia. So I don't think that it's only the linguistic problem. Yes, you were right. It's more like social, political, cultural, and so on. So these also should be, of course, taken into consideration while we compare the languages. So all these prohibitions or all these preservation measures and revitalization programs, of course, they should be also reasoned why they exist or they do not exist or they exist in this or that way. So, okay, and we will come back a little bit to Russia and we will discuss already the discourse. So at the moment, discourse is comparatively a new direction in linguistics. So it started with Michel Foucault, who considered it like a system of communication and power. And then Toyn van Dijk also, who focused on the cognitive roots of discourse. And nowadays, of course, we understand that without context, without understanding what type of communication it is, we cannot proceed further in the language investigation. So, if we speak about the proposed project from us, so we would focus on three types. Okay, let's just discuss the three types, probably most popular types of discourse existing now. For example, in Russia, what we have political discourse, cultural and digital discourse. They are quite interesting and new. So, first of all, political discourse in the Russian language is considered to be centralized. So it is a center-oriented discourse with strong governmental power and, of course, with territorial cohesion, focused on historical memory, on traditions, and the lexical unions prevailing in this discourse are considered to be like state, security, governance, political measures, society, and so on. Then culture. Culture, of course, it highlights some very traditional cultural and moral values. All the time in Russian discourse, literature, the famous masterpieces of music, literature, science, technologies are highlighted, and we can say that Russian discourse, Russian cultural discourse is quite rich at the moment. As for digital discourse, I guess this is worldwide. This is a global trend that digital discourse at the moment is prevailing for the youth, for the young generations, and they communicate in a very special manner. So here we have this meme culture. Here we have this emoji, and so on. So these semiotic things that are, so to say, new and innovative in our traditional understanding. For the dominant themes in Brazil, what we have for the dominant things in Brazil: culture, social, and digital as well. So, but if we compare, for example, Russian cultural discourse and Brazilian cultural discourse, they will be different because Brazilian cultural discourse is focused on diversity. So difference, yes. So something not that stable, but constantly changing. Of course, here we can also say that these intertextual units also, of course, can be applied here, like from music, from some literature, even from movies, and so on. These intertextual units are always there. Also with culture, some problems of inequality, which is also purely seen when we investigate the language discourse, or the influences, some inequality programs, and so on. As for social, of course, social discourse is also focused on some social problems, I guess, yes, because when people discuss something on internet or in private talks or in official sites or whenever, we can say that this social discourse can be focused in Brazil, just correct me if I'm wrong, on racial issues. Is it true? Yes. Then social mobility, probably, yes, because Brazil is a very mobile country, within the frames of the country, yes. And of course, the themes like social productions, like cinemas, movies, concerts, and some carnival, by the way, yes, it's also, yes, quite well discussed. So these topics can make a nuclear for the social discourse.
In digital discourse, there are two very important strands that are not on your list: religion and politics, and hate politics.
Religion, politics, and hate speech.
And hate speech. Hate speech. Not the politeness strategies, but the hate speech, right? um, so I would say that in digital discourse in Russia, the politics was not that discussed as in Brazil. Sorry, I've been here for a week and everybody is talking about politics here. Yes.
The problem is that digital sphere has really become a public sphere in Brazil. If we consider the concept of Habermas, right? So if we try to understand digital sphere in Brazil as a public sphere, then you have all kinds of discussion. You have, of course, politics a lot, but you have lots of discussions about education, about race, all the social problems like racism and gender problems, and all the indigenous problems like the exception of indigenous people, indigenous languages, and all the fight for them, all the problems, also social problems like fights for the earth, fights for land, right? Not earth, for land in Brazil, as the social movement that we have here on land demarcation, like the indigenous people, black people who try to do that, trying to preserve their land as quilombolas, right? So you have lots of discussion on what you're calling social problems, and we have a lot of discussion on politics. So I would say that this is different. I mean, it is not social, but it's politics, really politics, all kinds of topics on politics, not just the political parties, but also about working class problems. For example, nowadays we have a very strong topic for next year, that is the quantity of hours that we work for a week. So in Brazil, you have nowadays you have 1 day that you have free and 6 days you work for most of the workers. And then we're discussing that it must be 5 days to two for resting and 5 for working. So this is a very big issue nowadays, and it's going to be very discussed next year. But it's all those kinds of topics. Yes.
Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, it's very precious for me. We have 5 days work, 5 working days a week. Yes, and just the teachers at the at schools, colleges, and universities, they have 6 days, 6 working days. So okay, so you see we have something in common, but that's okay, that's really a very important social issue about working time. Yes, it should be. But okay, do you agree? No, how we agree? I would say that Brazilian way of expressing things on internet is more than, is stronger than in Russia. Okay, probably it's due to the weather, probably it's due to the character of people, but still here Brazilian digital discourse is very expressive. So, and how we see it? We see it with these memes, with these graphical expressions like emojis and so on. Later on, I will show you also the types of emoji Russians and Brazilians use. So it's, of course, I have borrowed the investigations from the other scientists. Okay, what I have found, nuclear words for the Brazilian discourse: diversity, identity, culture, community, religion, inequality, social mobility, creativity, digital culture, humor, activism, regional identity, inclusion, everyday life. Do you agree with this? Yeah? Like nuclear concepts for the people. So this is what we can get from the language, yeah, from investigating the discord. So if we start to investigate the languages and we perform the cross-cultural analysis, of course, this investigation is very valuable. First of all, I could hardly find any contrastive studies on Russian and Lusophone languages, on Slavic and Lusophone languages, let's say like this. So, and this is very important because they are two completely different, far away from each other, diverse cultures, which have very huge geographical gap, I mean the distance, right? And quite different types of development, I mean in history. So the historical appearance of Brazil and in Russia, completely different. So In these comparative studies, first, we can find strong discursive similarities or differences in structure of the languages. And of course, this is like lexical unique choice, metaphorical expression, narrative organization, and so on. So all these structures will help us to understand better the functioning of the language. Then, some very specific linguistic and cultural patterns can be identified during the comparative research. This is, of course, correct. So, what we can say? So, this again, some metaphorical phrases, some semantic frames we can find here. We can find their these cultural identification units. So this is very important. Then such a research, I mean the comparison of two language systems, can be very valuable from the theoretical point of view. Because when you investigate the large corpora of data, but still within one language or with one language system, you risk to be overgeneralized. But if you compare two completely different systems, language systems, it means that you can find something that you can never find manually, but you can do it within the comparison. And also, of course, such kind of research may benefit to computational linguistics because, okay, in the 21st century, we will use all tools that are available for us. And these corpus data, they are already available, and we can compare this massive data from one language to another and not only qualify the data, but also to see the quantity of cases of using this or that unit or this or that idiom or metaphoric expression or whatever. So these are already, these are the points why the investigation of these two languages can be so proficient and beneficial. Okay, one more thing is about cultural norms. Of course, how the culture is expressed in different countries and in different languages is also an issue to investigate. That's why this is also quite beneficial. Next here is a little bit, so it's a little bit small. Sorry for that. Just what I could find. So first, we want to make investigation on discourse analysis, first of all, then on computational models. Of course, we will involve this tool as computational models, and then we will try to connect this all with digital humanities. So how it will work? First, of course, discourse is the main issue for the investigations of nowadays modern existing language. And okay, Michel Foucault was the first, was the let's say like a father of methodology of this discourse analysis. And computational models, without big corpora at the moment, it is impossible to investigate anything. And as you are into the computational linguistics, as far as I know, you are the research group in this field. So you know that this corpora, it needs some programming tools, to gather all these units, lexical units or syntactic units or syntax units, and then to compare. So without computational models, unfortunately, we will not be able to investigate, to analyze this. And of course, the digital humanities. So if we, for example, look back 50 years, no, 100 years ago, okay, let's say 100 years ago, everything was very separate. All the spheres of science were very separate. Okay, for example, if you study mathematics, it's mathematics. If you study linguistics, it's just you are studying linguistics, and it's cultural studies, okay, cultural studies. But since that time, the direction of science has changed to the person. Okay, now we are investigating human, and all these spheres of science are focused on human. Now we have this anthropology view of linguistics as well. That's why from the point of view of technologies and digital science, we can also not avoid this human. So here we will also need this human digital humanities. Here, I have, now let us come to the comparison. It's a very rough draft, okay? Probably with you, we will work out something better. But as for now, how we see it, it's like this. So how we are going to build the corpus? Yeah, corpus of these linguistic units, let's say, okay? So first, data types. Which data types can be investigated? Of course, first the news media texts. Why? Because they are available and because they are mostly official, and we can get access without any ethic dilemmas and so on. So they are quite possible and easy to find. Social media posts. Social media posts are okay, of course, a very valuable resource, but there are some automatic commenters, okay, commenting strategies, and sometimes we cannot identify which one is this or that, and we can mix, especially when we use the computational linguistics and large corpora of texts. Of course, with manual way, it is very hard to identify them. But still, social media posts are very valuable source of information on linguistics. Then, official public communication. Yes, official public communication, also like news media, they are available, official, clean, without any automatic commentaries and so on. And cultural digital texts. Okay, these include blogs, some opinions, some articles on traveling, on culture, on visiting something, and so on. Selection criteria. This is the second column. Here, what we need to be to take into consideration. First of all, it's time frame definition. It is always, by any research, it is important because otherwise you risk to be overgeneralized. You take 1 year or 5 years or 3 years or I don't know 100 years, but you should stay within these time frames. Balance and proportionality. No one genre should prevail over the other. Okay, so and normally we should always keep the same percentage of this or that genre of linguistic material. Source transparency. Of course, all the digital data are documented. They have platform, they have the URL address, they have the date of issue, and so on. Linguistic variety control. So, for example, for Portuguese, it is very important to use just Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, not to mix it with any other dialects or with any other indigenous languages. For the Russian, it's the same. Yeah, so the picture is the same. Legal and ethic compliance. Here it is easy. Of course, we shouldn't be prosecuted for our studies. That's why we should use just only something ethically, morally justified sources and information. So what we are going to, so it's like how we do this corpus design. Of course, we start with annotation, and I think you know what it is. So it's very important, this linguistic annotation. We have discursive annotation, and sentiment and stance annotation. So this linguistic annotation includes tokenization, morphological annotation with all these flexes, and syntactical dependencies. As for the discursive annotation, this is about the topic model. And yes, discursive annotation also will have framing, will have narrative elements, and some morphological expressions. As for sentiment and stance annotation, they differ in the way like sentiment shows more emotional attitude of the speaker towards the object of discussion. But as for the stance annotation, then they are more objective and they use just attitude without adding any emotions. So here, just visually, you may see, and let us discuss. Probably you will be for or against anything, because I wrote this based on some investigations which were available for me about the Brazilian language, about the Portuguese Brazilian language. And can you please tell me, probably we should change something, or which you find inappropriate for this? For the for example, for Brazilian political discourse, you see here, yeah, coexistence of multiple ideological communities, strong regional voices, active citizen-driven commentary, intensive online political activism. Is it true? Yeah, because I find, for example, for the Russian, I find it true. What is written here: stability, continuity, external threat, and protective state, especially the last 3 years, national historical depth, collective responsibility. So very nuclear concepts here.
In Brazilian political discourse, I would add political hate and I also add polarization. But those two topics are very preeminent in the Brazilian politics nowadays. We've been living a very polarized political situations for the last 10 years or so. Okay, so political.
Yeah, when you say multiple communities, I think what Rodrigo is trying to say is that instead of multiple ideological communities, what we have now is mostly two very strong political communities, polarized, and public discourse is impoverished because of hate in such speech instead of rationality.
Yeah, you see, yeah, polarization, yes.
Political polarization is a key word instead of coexistence of multiple ideological communities.
There is a lot of polarization. They are okay. They are right about that, but I don't think you can substitute that for the coexistence. It's still you still have many points of views put on the sphere. Of course, there's a lot of polarization, but I think there are lots of things that are happening um, um, away of this. So I would say, and also I would think about narrative structures because she's thinking about narrative structures. So I think in narrative structures we will have multiple ideological communities and multiple ideological topics. Of course, you also have polarization inside of this, but you still have many things happening besides polarization, I think.
Yes, we discussed, so as for political discourse, we discussed with Rodrigo just today the number of political parties in Brazil and in Russia. And I found information that in Russia we have just in the House of Representatives, just representatives of 6 parties, and here you have 60, over 60. Yes. Of course. Yeah, of course, yeah, you cannot never find 60 different, completely different perspectives. Yeah. Uh, but still, yes, so this is like really, yeah, really different, yeah, quite polarized or multiple, but anyway, different.
That categorization that she put, you see, intense online political activism. I think it describes very well what is happening, because there is a very interesting discussion about the concept of polarization in Brazil, because it's not really polarized because you don't have this extreme far left. You don't have this. You have only the extreme far right and the other part of the society, right? So you have these two sides that you would say, but inside the side that is the rest of the society, there's a lot of things happening. And even though in the extreme far right side, you still have a lot of things happening too. So I would say that your categorization about intense online political activism is very good, because it doesn't put nobody in one frame also, but you can see different things.
Yes.
I think probably this idea of polarization, especially since it's a comparative study, I think that might be a good thing to use this type of polarization as probably a hypothesis to be tested with the analysis. For example, a comparative analysis for what does this communities look like in Russian policy and institutional online political discussions, and what it looks like in Brazil. Probably the idea of a multiple ideological communities can be tested if it's just a polarization or if they are really multiple. I think that's something that's accessible, right? And the other thing I would suggest, and then it's from the side of the politics, in Brazil we have this idea of multiple parties, but what actually works more nowadays is the idea of that's not a good translation. It's a bancada, the benches. Yeah, because coalition means another thing in Portuguese, but this is the idea of coalitions. So there are different politicians from different parties that align around a specific topic, and then they form this type of coalition that is not institutionalized, but it works as a group of discussion and decision in the parliament. And then we'd have like 3 or 4 groups of political matters and decision. For example, in the Bolsonaro government, there were many studies of the religious coalition, that would be evangelic coalition. The idea of an bancada da arma, como é que eu traduzo isso?
Oh.
Top Gun.
Oh.
The pro guns coalition and the pro agribusiness agriculture coalition. So these were the main groups that defined the way of the government, and not the 35, 34 parties articulating itself. It's more an individual articulation of the politicians than a party articulation top down. it's some sort of inversion, and then we can work with 3 or 4 groups of political collisions.
Yes, but there are many studies in Brazilian politics that state that Brazilian politics is the politics of individual, not politics of the party. That there is many in social sciences and political science. There are lots of studies that go in that direction. And because usually we've got people, it's not very common. It's not completely uncommon, but there are some very important politics that change parties after each election.
But also we still have a working party, right? This work-
Labor,
labor party. Yes. And then this party is really organized as a party. So you have something.
at least, yeah.
So inside the party, there's a lot of division, of course. They say it's democratic, but you still have a structure as a political party like this. I think it's the only one who has this kind of behavior, right? Because yes, and we have the soul, but it's a little party. It's not so big anymore, and like the working party. But you have this left right wing party, which is PSOL. So in the left, you have these two parties that work like or behave like like parties, really.
Since it is a hypothesis just for the future investigation, yes, I think that, yes, we could take it as a draft, yes, and then could work it out. So later, yes, to find also this, I don't know, the gun parties, top gun parties, yeah, to add something.
For the research I've been doing, people have been doing politics in Brazil, your emotional and expressiveness categories are completely right. We are extremely use high frequency of adjectives and adverbs. We classify each other very commonly. Emotional markers are present all the time. Humors and ironies are present all the time.
So
So
it's true.
that's true. That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Maybe some add some little more importance or the evaluative value of verbal elements, verbs in Portuguese, because I mean the choice of verbal elements are very important in defining sentiments and feelings in Portuguese. Portuguese is the verb in Portuguese carries a very much an emotional and evaluative
Expression, yeah.
expression. Exactly. So probably, but aside from that, your list is perfect.
So we will investigate and we will try to find the truth out. Yes, what is really going on? Yes.
Maybe the characterizing the role of digital platforms as decentralized might not be quite correct, because we do have like a certain degree of monopoly of discourse by the platforms that belong to Meta. YouTube belongs to Google, and it's in like a fringe platform for this. TikTok is also a platform. It started as a fringe platform and went into center.
From Asia.
Yeah. Traditionally, Brazilian discourse. Yeah. Traditionally, Brazilian political discourse happens in Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. WhatsApp is technically a message platform, but it is used for like political discourse and
In groups or yeah.
groups and stories and transmission channels and everything. It is used as platform by especially the far right, but the left also uses it because it is important to use the tools that we have, really.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Yes, okay. So if it's okay with this, we will go visually, yes, further. So what we have these some areas of convergence in Russian, both in Russian and in Brazilian discourse. And here we have narrative framing techniques and mimetic political language. So both Russia and Brazil, they demonstrate these types of techniques like problem definition, casual interpretation, moral evaluation, suggested remedies, and this is very important because all people try to work something out, the decision. And mimetic political language is something new, of course, but still it is very widespread, especially among the young generation of users. And they have here humor and irony, simplified narrative tropes, symbolic keywords, and rapid circulation of slogans. So, do you agree with that? All of these elements they do exist in Brazilian discourse, political, right? Yeah. So you see, as okay, the hypothesis is correct. Then we will come to the second case study. So it is digital native discourses, which are also very important nowadays. I will be a little bit in a hurry because I am out of time, nearly out of time. Yes, so very sorry for that. Just this visual representation shows that what we have here. Um, uh, so internet, um, this mimetic, for example, communication comes to the internet, not from it. And here we have very high density of some mimetic markers. You see them here. Like in Russian, we have, unfortunately, we do not have access to TikTok nowadays. My daughter loved it very much. To Twitter, we don't have, which are very common in Brazil. Yeah. Also, you mentioned WhatsApp, yes, and Facebook also suspended in Russia, and Instagram also not available at the moment. Yes. Yeah, Telegram we do have. It's by the way, Telegram seems to me personally, it's in my humble opinion, more official than the others. For example, Instagram it's more informal, or Facebook is more informal, but still they may be differences. Opposite, Telegram is quite unofficial.
Commentary on Telegram. In Brazil, it's a fringe app. It's a very good app. I do use it. It's a fringe app that is used mainly for two things when it comes to this kind of discussion. It is used for piracy of content because it works very well to pirate media content and to create big and undetectable hate groups. We had several issues with Telegram as a company because the Brazilian justice system wanted them to make data about the users available for judicial purposes, and they kept denying it. So Telegram kept being shut down in Brazil. Eventually, they reached some sort of agreement, and it's been stable ever since because the Brazilian judicial system is really focused on like knowing your IP. You committed a crime. We're gonna go to your house.
Okay, so in Russian, they use also VKontakte. It is VK. It is a social network which comes to be more or less official at the moment. So this is the only difference, and all the other social networks, of course, we know we used before, used to use before. Yes. For example, I got registered in 2011 on Facebook when it was created, and now it's suspended, so it's okay. All right. So what we have like as mimetic metrics, both in Russia and Brazil, like microphrases, often ironic or absurd, creative respelling or misspelling, by the way, also, yes. Yeah. Um, Insider references to media, gaming, or politics, yes. Playful distortions of grammar, also, yeah, happens. So political irony and humor and self-irony, bureaucratic parody, extremely fast viral meme cycles, stylized cynicism, high expressiveness, literary style, intertextuality, and social cultural illusions. So all of them exist, yeah, in this, yes. So as for emoji, As for emoji as pragmatic and emotional markers, here we can say that we have some slight differences in discourse. Here, like higher use of ironic or deadpan emoji sequences. In Brazil, higher use of expressive and effective emojis. Frequent use of minimalist emoji, but really minimalist, and frequent clusters of high expression, yes. And here, of course, semantic contracts and these narrative devices. By the way, emojis, they have come through also a very huge development. Sometimes we have some memes like, first people, they were drawing something on stones, and it was like I don't know, grandfathers of this emoji we use now, but still we have come to the same. So we have done the cycle and have come to the same point. But they have been developed as well, like emojis and then stickers, and now we have customized stickers, so you can use your own picture to produce a set of emojis and you can use them. So also very creative type of, right, so of this discourse. Yeah, and here some multimodal patterns like text plus image plus format play. Also semiotically quite complicated semiotic structures which also include text and visual content, and also some probably creative or gameful. Here you may see the difference. I will not just read it. You see on the slide the difference between the Russian youth and the Brazilian youth, because we are speaking about digital discourse. So GIFs, yes, probably. Yeah, WhatsApp has very developed sticker culture. Yes, Rodrigo.
I guess that your number three in the Russian youth discourse, text over image, it in some extent also applies to the Brazilian context.
Yeah.
Text over
Also,
image. Yeah, sometimes usually misinformation and disinformation, it's very common. They get an image from different
Okay.
place and they write something over it to make it look like something that's related to a tragedy or to a political stance that they want to make public, and actually it doesn't belong to any of those. It's just a matter of interpretation and connection between what's written and what is in the visuals. So it belongs to both, I guess. Yes, as mostly memes in Brazil are text over image, so so you can think that as well.
Thank you very much for the comment. Yes.
A question about the precise same thing. When you say text over image, you mean top text, bottom text, and the image in the background?
It doesn't matter. So it may be just at the bottom. It may be yeah.
Because we do have a specific format that it isn't really used in Brazil anymore. That is top text, bottom text. That's like from 10 years ago on Tumblr.
We don't have this template anymore, but we have lots of text over image formats. We still do a lot of them, and most of our misinformation is based on text over image. A sort of ambiguous image with a text that sort of clarifies the ambiguity and makes it belong to something somewhere. I'm sorry, where it doesn't. Mostly.
And of course, we cannot deny that younger generations, they now produce some other semiotic system, okay, another type of language creativity, which can be considered as language innovations and so on. So what they have like rapid adoption of new vocabulary, sometimes very weird and not understood by the older generation. Um, uh, this playful spelling to signal in group identity, hybridization of English borrowings in Russian, very well spread thing, because of mostly because of the gaming culture, because many play these online games, and they communicate, and they have their own gaming language and gaming terminology, which is mostly uh, like combination of two words from English and Russian and so on. So very creative here. And code mixing, yes, sometimes they organize or produce the some gaming cultures or some subcultures which can be identified by the proper words. And these proper words are not known by anybody, or the meaning has been changed of the word. So also, if you don't belong to this culture, you will not understand what is going on here. Yeah. And the last one, cultural and academic discourse. It's already very close to us. Yes. So here, what we have here, like what has Russia? You see, always the same. So history, culture, historical identity, responsibility, collaboration. We are all together. These concepts. As for Brazil, it's diversity. Yes, everyone is so different. So it's also a peculiarity. Yeah, culture is a mixture. By the way, I have read in one of the work that mixture is like a nuclear center for Brazilian language mixture. Is it true? The word mixture. I don't know how to say it in Portuguese. No. Yes, yes. Like this is a cohesion of everything, yes. And cultural identity often linked to performance connected to traditions. Yes, here in comparison, strong presence of intertextuality in Russian.
That last one in the Brazil
Yeah.
column, I'm just asking people if they agree with it, because I think this could be true for Gaúchos or for. There's a lot of Afro descendancy celebration, but I don't think this is like. It's actually it sounds kind of contradictory to the mestiçagem frame.
Like culture is a mixture and cultural identity to traditions.
I would say the average dominant narrative is that we are a mixed culture, a new kind of human race where, that's at least that's the stereotype.
But there is some extent
It's open.
there is some extent of truth in it. If you think about, like you said, some states of Brazil that try to establish their own culture, differentiate themselves for the rest of the country. Yes, and some minorities or minorized groups that tend to valorize to their own culture and their own presence in the country. It's also a possibility, right? For example, how important we are contributing to this as well. So have to value our place here. We have a place in the country as well. So
Paulistas who like to say that they're Italian, Catarinenses that like to say that they're German because of colonization.
And in fact, I don't understand why you are putting in perspective Russia's strong presence of intertextuality, as we don't have it here. I don't know. I don't understand your position.
What prevails in cultural and academic discourse? Like intertextuality, Russia is very strong with some cultural pieces, like literature pieces or music pieces or ballet, whatever. So architectural and for example, these elements are often used as intertextual incorporations to the discourse.
Yes, but we would have this too here.
So that's why, that's why I'm discussing this with you. Yes, as a draft. Next. So what I have found that Russian and Brazil academic cooperation is performed in these spheres. So it's linguistics and language teaching. This I put in the middle because this is my specialty and yours, that's why. Okay, cultural studies, political science, computer science, and energy studies, of course, because the important things. So some semantic frames which shape this discourse are like cooperation as an exchange, then cooperation as a capacity building, cooperation as global positioning, and shared emphasis, interdisciplinarity. And I think it's fair because I guess it's global. It's not only for Russia and Brazil. I guess it will be the same for Germany and the United States and Japan. So, one of the last slides, it is metaphor and semantic framing. Here, sorry if something is written wrong, because I just copied, okay, the words. So what we have here as nuclear concepts or elements, like in Russia, culture is a vessel. We can see it from verbs. Verbs used in this respect are treat more culture like a vessel. And here culture is a flow. If it's wrong, just tell me. Knowledge as a territory, because we have here, for example, the territory of science in Russian, or we broaden the horizons. And science as tradition, emphasis on research schools. So in Brazil, knowledge as network, if it's true, academia as community practice, emphasis on collaboration, collective authorship, and engagement. And we just discussed this, that, for example, Unicamp is very open to collaboration between the countries, to academic mobility, exchange programs, and so on. And this is true. Source, I just investigated some of the works which were used, written by Russian investigators, so scientists. Yeah, that's why I'm not quite sure about it.
So it might be advantageous to maybe compare documents that come from the Russian funding agencies to the Brazilian funding agencies, because those are the documents that usually point what the country wants to happen in context of the both countries being in scientific collaboration currently, because of especially energy research. They might have points of approximation and points of distancing. And to do a very broad comprehension of what the actual scholars think about what they're doing in Brazil, you would probably need to conduct actual field research, because the realities between the regions are very different. I'm sure you're well aware, because Russia is also a massive country. So some things that the colleagues just said do not apply to the state of universities in the Northeast, for example.
Yeah, because of the differences in system. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And we go to the last one. So, of course, every research has its limitations, and we cannot avoid it. So, here, data coverage and representativeness. Then platform algorithms and sampling bias, NLP, model constraints, like BERT, for example, or XLM rays. Ambiguity in semantic and metaphor analysis is what we are talking about, yes, and temporal instability of digital resources, and as well cross-cultural comparative challenges because of different realities in both countries. For this, Yeah, this is sorry for for being late a little bit. Yes, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your active participation in our discussion. So, if you have any questions, Rodrigo has my contacts or any contacts. Yeah, is very extremely welcome. Okay, thank you very much.